Hi folks, this is Tony at TravelScoot again. Cynthia and Nancy have asked for a video on how to exchange the drive belt on the older model TravelScoot. So here we go. You're going to need the following tools. You're going to need your two 5mm Allen wrenches, your 4mm Allen wrench, and your 3mm. The two smallest ones you can ignore today. So let's get started. Take your 3mm Allen wrench and insert into your belt guard screws. Get them loosened. That's one. That's two. Set your belt guard aside. Now we've got a belt that's actually not damaged. So, for example, if you had a worn belt that wasn't torn that you wanted to replace, you would do the following. You'd walk it off by putting thumb pressure on the outside of the belt and turning the rear wheel backwards. That will make it slide off the large gear. Now you've got your belt off the gears. You twist it this way. Incidentally, this is also the position you're going to install your new belt in. So just remember what this looks like. It's a little counterintuitive. Next up, you take your two 5mm Allen wrenches, insert them into the axle nuts, inner and outer, and start turning. You've got a lot of clearance on the outside here, so you can turn your outer Allen wrench 360 degrees without interference, and it makes it kind of handy. Okay, we're almost there. You can remove the bolt the rest of the way by hand. Let's have a look at what we have here. Okay, the axle shaft is still protruding a little bit, but we might have just enough clearance. If you don't, you can take your Allen wrench, insert it into the axle shaft, and strike it with, a mallet, gently with a hammer, or back of a screwdriver, something like that. But I think in this case we've got just enough clearance. So you slide your drive belt through here, you pry the fork away from the wheel, slide it out, and there you go. Okay, now we're going to reinstall it in the opposite order of removal. Again, you're going to need to pry a little bit. Slide it in there, just like I showed you earlier. This is how it's going to be slid over the inner fork. Line up your axle more or less with the hole, and start the axle screw by hand. That way you can be sure that you're not cross-threading it. Okay, once you're certain that you've got it started properly, you can start turning from the outside again, where you've got more clearance with your Allen wrench. Make sure it's good and snug. Take this opportunity to spin the rear wheel. Make sure it's not binding up anywhere. It spins freely, bearings are okay. And there's also a good way of checking to make sure the motor doesn't have any binding. It's uncoupled from the rear wheel. Very handy little troubleshooting test. Okay, to get the belt back on the gears, you start by draping it over the motor gear, and we're going to walk it onto the rear wheel, just the same way as before, by turning backwards, but this time we are going to put pressure on the inside and make sure it goes on to the gear smoothly. You'll hear a little snap, and there you have it. Next up, we're going to check belt tension, and that's very important because if the belt is too loose, you may skip teeth. It's going to feel like your clutch is slipping or you're riding over rocks or something like that, and you're not going to get very effective forward motion, and you're also going to damage the belt. Conversely, if it's too tight, you're going to have a loud whining noise, and you're also going to stress the belt. To adjust the tension, in this case we didn't change anything, so the belt tension is actually fine. You can see here with moderate finger pressure we've got roughly a 1/4 inch deflection. That's pretty good. We're going to take our 4mm Allen wrench and move to the front of the fork. Right below the motor, you can see our belt tensioner. We loosen, these bolts. Now your belt tensioner, which is nothing more than an idler that pushes up against the bottom of the belt, can be adjusted. If you want it tighter, you push up. In this case, that's just about where we'd like it. Insert your Allen wrench again, and just snug these bolts. They're not going to go anywhere for the time being. Your tension's adequate. Flip it around, your Allen wrench that is, and tighten them. I also take this opportunity to grab your 3mm Allen wrench and check the motor gear attached bolt. This is a left-hand bolt, so you're actually going to need to twist it counterclockwise to tighten. So it's going to be lefty-tighty, righty-loosey. In this case, it's nice and snug. That's important. If this bolt is loose or falls out, you may hear a clacking sound when you accelerate. Obviously, that's undesirable. Okay, we've just about got it. So let's reinstall our belt guard. Set it over the belt. Get your bolts started. Don't tighten them individually until you have both bolts started. Okay. Make sure that the gear bolt is centered in the little relief hole. Tighten it, and you are done. Thanks for watching and happy scooting.